Well, hello and welcome to Pick Up the Mic. We got a great show today because I'm loaded for bear, man.
They're all great.
This is the greater great. This
All
is
right.
the greater great. We're gonna really kick some booty. I was noticing on the watch counts that the people watch most the ones that have Christina,
Elizabeth.
They like the Tina Talks with Mandy. Actually, it's not. Elizabeth and Z didn't get traction. I'm thinking it's an age thing. They don't like all those old people. They like Isaac. Anyone over 40 is like anathema to them. But I want you youngins to know, we old dudes, we're completely
We
not.
saying we?
Well, yeah, sorry. We're completely not cool, okay? And I don't care. We still have something to say. And I got a lot. I got an In the News segment. I've got an attractional church guy segment that I think will also hit some really cool philosophical things.
What's attractional church guys?
You'll see. You have to see.
Oh.
I actually want to start with this. I have an Ask the Pastor that was written right here. That looks like feminine handwriting. I'm going to think it's Sunshine's handwriting. Is that yours? No.
Nope.
Well, if a woman puts it there, I care more. Now, if this is a man who put it there and has feminine handwriting, we might have to counsel him a little bit.
I was going to say, I think did Isaac write those?
That was funny.
No, I mean serious.
You didn't mean it
though.
as a joke? If I'd have thought of it, I'd have said it as a joke. Our best feminine pastor, we love him very, very much. And by the way, we do like to joke about men and femininity, and I get in a little trouble sometimes because people think you're not supposed to do that. Listen, men joke with other men about being feminine all over the world in all times. It doesn't mean they hate people who struggle with homosexual attraction. It has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with that. Men want to be manly. We're competitive. We want to be strong in each other's presence. We want to be respected. We don't want our weakness to show. We don't even talk when we go to the urinals because we don't, it's weakness. We want to be strong and to make fun of each other, to call each other children or mama's boys or girls. It's just fun. Sometimes it's mean, but guys who get along do it for fun, right?
Well, so we've talked about this in our little circle of friends. It's when you know your friends as a guy is when all of a sudden you can, chide each other a little bit. If you're not being made fun of, it's because I don't actually think we're friends yet. It's like I'm too nervous to make fun of you.
That's right. Unless you're being mean.
Unless
you're
you're
trying
being
to pick a fight.
Yeah.
And then if a guy picks up on that, then he'll either fight or run, or suck up to the guy.
There's a great conference talk out there by a pastor called The Blessing of a Good Insult. And he's talking about this phenomenon with guys. And he attributes it to, this is his take, which I liked. It's, I'm testing how seriously you take yourself or like how you react to pressure. Because I want to know, like,
Can I trust you?
Can I trust you? If the crap hits the fan, are you going to lose your crap and overreact and get mad about something you shouldn't get mad about? Or are you a total pushover? Like, you got to be in this middle ground of you can take some making fun of and you can make fun back, but you don't take it too seriously and get mad about it. And like, it's a male testing thing.
Yeah, and
that nobody ever teaches us. It just happens naturally.
That's the Jordan Peterson point of view. He says that you test him if a group of men find a guy who can't take a joke, they avoid him because he's not safe. Not because they're afraid of him, but he's just not trustworthy. They may do worse things. Also, the word gay, we can throw that in. The word gay often meant stupid, weak, or feminine, or silly, or crazy, or dumb. And people think, well, you're insulting people who have homosexual. First, gay, I don't think of people as gay people. I don't think of people as homosexual people. I used to, but I don't anymore because I've been educated by people who used to be in the lifestyle, became Christians, and they said, stop doing that. Your sex is not your identity. Who you sleep with is not your identity. You're not a gay person. If you have homosexual feelings, you're not a heterosexual. I never walk up to someone and say, hi, I'm a hetero. I'm a heterosexual. I am who I am, no matter who I do intimate things with. And a man who has homosexual sins that he does is not less of a man because of that sin. He's still a man. But people get really sensitive about the word gay. I've tried to take it out of my language, but then I decided I'll try to be more careful, but it's not right to take it out because I know homosexual leaning behavior people, to say it that way, who use it the same way I use it. And don't be offended. I just want you to know, if you would identify as gay or homosexual, and I know you, I love you, you're my friend. I will never push you away because of that. But that leads to this issue right here. Now, I love you, but we're going to keep it clean, right? I mean, I say the same to women, though. I love you. I am a side hugger, sometimes a front hugger, depending on the situation. Love women, but we're going to keep it clean. I'm a one-woman man. So any men who have homosexual feelings or women who just think I'm hot like they all do, I'm taken. Let's just get that straight. Okay. As the pastors, is cancel culture good? Of course not. Are we contributing by calling out the people who hate Charlie Kirk online, like teachers, etc.? I don't know who wrote this question, but I like it. Do you understand the question?
I do understand the question. I think we need to define cancel culture.
How about you do that because that's how you think?
Well, so cancel culture, the term is relatively new, right? It was kind of around the George Floyd riots, the BLM stuff. It was if you did anything that was even in the slightest bit not woke enough, you got outed online. Your company got shamed into firing you. Remember, there was like one woman, I think the case that maybe everybody, or at least most people I think are familiar with, is a woman made a comment about AIDS. It was like a joke about AIDS because she was getting on a plane in JFK and going to Africa.
Got off the plane.
And when she had gotten off the plane, she was a national news story, had been fired.
Yes, I remember.
Her address was online.
10 years ago?
Yeah, it was
9
like
years ago?
over the course of her 5-hour plane ride over the Atlantic when she didn't have cell phone service, like her post online didn't land well, and all of a sudden everyone, I mean like the entire nation was talking about it and she didn't even know.
Yes.
And like, so that's to me is the epitome of cancel culture, is that example. So it's kind of the idea that like you make a crass joke or a joke that doesn't land well, or you say something that people take out of context, or even that the wokesters don't think is woke enough, and they basically make you a pariah online. They can make you a national news story and try to ruin your life. So that's like, in my mind, that's cancel culture.
I think we can build on that. I think it's that plus there was a secular, let's say, code of ethics, like a religion, kind of like the equivalent of the Sharia law to the Islam follower. Where you have to eat halal food, which you got to eat certain foods. Women have to cover everything up, and they'll come and yell at you if you don't, right? Or stone you to death or whatever. There was a secular set of rules, like you can't say gay, because that's hateful. And you can't obviously say anything about AIDS online. You can't have certain opinions, and those opinions were very often the opinions of more than half the country. And they would cancel you. And we saw that on social media. I got kicked off of Twitter several times with 12,000 followers, kicked off permanently because I objected to gay marriage. And so cancel culture says, well, they were treating all discussions that went against the liberal code as making you worthy of banishment, like wearing the Hester print and the scarlet letter A for adultery, and you're out of society and you should be hated. Or that lady who's walking her dog in the park and a black guy they're fighting in New York City, arguing. It was just a normal argument. But then she said something to him that could be taken as racist by the cancel culture people, not by everyone necessarily. Next thing you know, she's losing her job. So,
yeah, and it got corporatized or institutionalized.
Yes.
Where like in BLM, like on LinkedIn, if your company didn't put a black square out or whatever, they would organize a boycott against you. And like there's people in boardrooms literally trying to decide like are we going to put out marketing material about us supporting BLM or like, you
Yes.
got little companies like my company is no name 300 person company. And you're like, the last thing we want to do is end up on NBC. But when a single woman can become a national news story, it doesn't matter how small your business is, you're worried about becoming a national news story. And so now you feel like you're blackmailed into, I got to pretend to support this political movement. Really, I don't care at all. I'm just trying to sell widgets.
And people did it.
And
they
people
put
did it.
rainbow flags here. The Black Square, there were many young women who would pressure other young women during that time, influencers and all, if they didn't put a black square on their Instagram or their Facebook, and they would get canceled, and it was bad. And so, in a sense, what they're saying is certain things are too evil for society, and all society needs to hate them. Now, here's what's good about cancel culture.
Yeah.
There are certain lines which, if you cross, your society should say, this is a cause for shame.
Yeah, and that's where that's why I wanted to define it, because I agreed with your short answer. Is cancel culture good? No. But
What is it?
what is it? Because there are aspects of shame, of social shame, that I think are good.
So cancel culture, normally, if you weren't a leftist, and you held any agree that a leftist or opinion that a leftist wouldn't hold, you'd be canceled. And they controlled the school, they controlled the institutions, they controlled the media, and they would do it. I think one of the greatest things to break cancel culture was Elon Musk buying Twitter. And in fact, I think the effects of that are much bigger culturally worldwide than we are paying attention to. So the question is then, aren't we doing the same thing when we call out people who hate Charlie Kirk online, like teachers, etc.? So just recently, did you want to jump in there?
I didn't know if you were ready, if that was a rhetorical setup for yourself or if it was a real question to me.
Oh, did you have an answer you wanted to give?
Yeah, well, I think what delineates cancel culture versus not being afraid to call people out is what often happened 10 years ago is you shut down their ability to participate in public discourse.
Exactly.
That's the difference.
Great point.
Right? Calling somebody out publicly on a comment thread on X or on Facebook and say that's ridiculous and a disgusting point of view, right? That's you just participating in public discourse, and they have the ability to continue to publicly discourse. What happened a decade ago is people's accounts would get removed, like you got kicked off. It was literally trying to prevent that person from espousing that view. Whereas now you want to let that person espouse that disgusting view and just not be ashamed to say, I think that viewpoint is disgusting.
So I think you
that's the difference.
I think you bring up a very important point to Americans, especially. It's about free speech largely. When I would say two men can't be married, and then I'd get suspended from Twitter, and then eventually just kicked off. That is saying that those words should not be uttered in public by any human being.
Yes.
Okay. Is that our ethic as a society? If so, I resist. I'm against that view that that's our ethic.
You would even say that your ethic is, I want people to be free to say that to me. I don't think anyone should say that in public. But where you draw the line is saying, I think that person should be disallowed from saying it in public. Those are two different statements. I will go with the old
liberal point of view, used to be liberal, not anymore, that I may not like what you say, but I will defend your right to say it.
Yeah.
I would not mind if 87,000 leftist trolls decided they needed to all repost what I said and look what an awful guy this is. Because that's freedom of speech. As long as they let me answer, we're having a discussion no matter how uncivil it might be. The argument is being squelched by cancel culture. Now, in this case, though, what they're doing is they're taking, I think, a secular mindset, making it a religion similar to Islam. Anything that against the prophet you will not say or will cut your head off. And the question is our society like that? No, we have a Christian-based ethic, which means there are certain things that we would say
Or shameful?
shameful, and we should be allowed to say that out loud.
That's shameful.
So, for example, just recently, and it'll be a few weeks past when you hear this, there was a woman at the No Kings rally who kept saying, doing this, shot in the neck, and she's just an unattractive woman, if I could say it, and she would have been more attractive if she was sweet, but she wasn't sweet, just doing this in public about getting shot in the neck. And it turned out she's a teacher in the Chicago school system of like third graders. So this woman could be teaching your 7-year-old or your 8-year-old. Okay. Do you want that woman teaching your 7-year-old or 8-year-old? The one who goes out in public and says, I'm going to shoot you in the neck and makes fun of Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, and no, and that's why I don't think it's cancel culture if there's a groundswell of parents who say...
Let me finish this and let you bring that back. So you'd say, no, you don't want her to. Should you be allowed to say, I don't want her to?
Correct, yes.
That's the issue. And so my answer is no, we're not contributing to cancel culture if we say, I think she should lose her job. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and if I'm in that school district, I should be able to go to a school board meeting and shout that from the rooftops.
And the school has the right to say, we think she should keep her job. And so now we have an ideological difference, and we are arguing over it. But why do I think? Because I think it's harmful to my child or other people's children to have a woman who endorses the killing of people whose political opinion she doesn't like teaching my child.
Yeah.
That could be harmful to children.
Low moral character is what I would say.
And I should be allowed to say that out loud. And if the school board agrees with me, they should be allowed to fire her for that.
So sticking to this...
By the way, Twitter was allowed to kick me off. I didn't say they didn't have the right to kick me off. I'm just telling you, it was. I thought it was immoral to kick me off.
Right.
Against the American way, if I would say it that way.
And that's where... So we're trying to find quote unquote good public shame and keep in the First Amendment, like freedom of speech, primary in our culture versus what's bad cancel culture. Bad cancel culture is when you have a similar scenario to a third grade teacher that nobody thinks should teach in their school. Going back to Virginia, if you guys paid attention a couple years ago to the school board meetings in Virginia over transgender stuff, they wouldn't allow parents to come talk at school board meetings. They kept shutting down school board meetings or giving people only 30 seconds at the mic.
Or dragging that one guy
off.
Or
dragging the one guy off.
Arresting him.
So it's like, here's a public school. It's supposed to be accountable to the parents and to the voters, right? Because it's a democratic institution, and they're not allowing the parents to express themselves publicly about what that's cancel culture, because you're like not allowing them to participate in the discourse.
Yes. So every society cancels something.
Yes.
Every society cancels something. The question is, whose ethics do we use and how do we do it? If we want to get to a level where we hate people because of their political differences, I don't even hate this woman who wants to shoot me in the neck. I don't know her, but I don't hate her. But if we want to live at a level where we do that, we're going to kill each other. And that's exactly what happened to Charlie Kirk. Cancel culture was on display with Charlie Kirk. He was canceled by a bullet because someone didn't like what he had to say.
I love tying that together. That is the pinnacle of cancel culture.
And it's evil.
Charlie Kirk.
And it's evil because killing people is evil. So let's say it this way. If your cancel culture violates a greater moral code, then it's evil. If it allows you to just disagree in public, it's not. And even fire people. You should have the right to fire anyone you want if you are an employer.
I want to go back to that. I want to tease that out for a second because I'm a huge proponent of what is called generally freedom of association.
Yes.
Like I'm free to associate or not associate with who I want to. And so you gave the example of Twitter. Twitter is a company. It has its own motives. It's trying to make money. And they had the right to kick you off. You didn't think they should have, right? So
No.
it's not a public institution. That's where people get fired from their jobs. You might not like it, but if it's a private company, that company has the right to do what they want, and I will also defend that. Even if I don't think they should have, I don't like what they do. The way I think about it is I try to make everything small. Like you try to understand the federal government's budget, try to shrink it down to a family budget so you can think about it. You want to think about companies, think about them like a household. So my old company, it was primarily owned by one family. It's like two brothers owned the majority of all the shares, right? As far as I'm concerned, that piece of property in that building might as well have been their second home. They owned it. It was their private property.
That's
it was
right.
their building, right? And I don't think anybody should have the right to tell them what are the reasons they can say, please don't come in my house anymore. They say, like, imagine it's a house. They say, hey, I allowed Mike to come over to my house and clean my living room once a week, and we agreed on I'd pay him $100. And you know what? I've decided that I don't want Mike coming in my house anymore. And so I said, you know, Mike, this is the last week. Next week, our contract is over. I'm not going to pay you $100. You're not going to clean my living room, and I don't want you on my property anymore, right? It's my property. That's the way I viewed it, like as a job. Like as soon as the owner said, I don't want you on my property anymore,
He should have the right to
he should have the
remove you.
right. And if it was just because I think you're of low moral character because somebody showed me a video of you online and I didn't like it, that's his right. It's it's like his house.
If he doesn't like your hair.
Yeah.
I think I'm in agreement. Of course, we find ourselves at the extreme end there, but I don't think it should be extreme. Let me shift to one last part of this. We're not going to get anywhere today. It takes us too long. One last part of this is implicit or implied or not stated but present is what implicit means in this question is, does the Christian ethic require us to bite our tongue? And I think this is what leads to wimpy pastors and wimpy Christians, because they don't think they have a right to speak because they'll be, as the British say, hurty feelings. That someone's feelings will be hurt. The truth is truth. Truth is truth. If it's not spoken, there is a loss to the community, and the church is the pillar of the truth, says the Bible. Let me switch gears here to I'm going to call it my In the News segment. All right, here we go. There is Sunshine. I sent you a video that says Nigeria on it. If you could play that, I want us to see this. And just the quick setup. This is, I don't know who's doing the voiceover here. It doesn't really matter who's doing the voiceover and narrating. I should say it's not voiceover. I don't know who's narrating this, but what you see in this, can they see that picture right now, Sunshine? Could you
Yep.
make so they see the stilled video?
Yes.
What you see is a bunch of wooden coffins. I wish we had those kind of coffins. We wouldn't have to pay so much. Just pine, it look like, or some cheap wood coffins. On them are scratched crosses. So that tells you the socioeconomic condition of the people and also the haste in which they made these coffins. Nothing is pre-printed. Some of them have a handle, some of them don't. And in them are, you can see the smaller ones are children and women, children, old people, and maybe a few slow men. And these people were killed by Muslims in Nigeria. With that as a setup, go ahead and hit it.
This is the mass burial of people that were massacred at Yelwarachas village, Barikilak, the local government of Plateau State, on the 14th of this month. Behind each coffin is a story, a family, and a dream. These are not just bodies, but children, parents, siblings, and friends whose potential and contribution to humanity were tragically silent by these bloodthirsty demons. Enough of this Christian cleansing. For how long can we continue like this? For how long can people continue to gather to perform mass burial for their beloved ones? Enough of this Christian cleansing going on in Nigeria. We can no longer continue like this.
Enough of this Christian cleansing in Nigeria. We can no longer go on like this. If that doesn't pull at your heart, put down your coffee, watch it again, or you have no heart. Now, what I want to comment on this isn't simply that it's happening, but the fact that it's being reported. and take it a couple directions. One is, because I have watched sites like the Christian Headlines, which I no longer look because they've come and gone and they change in their accessibility. I have known for at least a decade, if not a little more, of the killing of Nigerian Christians by Muslims. It wasn't news to me, but it's because I'm in a subculture of Christianity and I look for stories like that. I want to look for where a Christian is being persecuted. And I literally will search where are Christian persecution, and stories pop up. But that's the only way you could find it. It was never an ABC, NBC, CBS, PBS, MSNBC, Fox News, CNN, New York Times, AP. You never saw these stories at all. But they were out there, and once in a while I'd mention them in a sermon. I didn't have a podcast, but I'd say, hey, Nigerians is one of the places. It's not the only place. I'd point out other places too where Christians, and they would always, but if you saw it reported at all, it was always Fulani tribesmen or Fulani herdsmen were clashing with Christians or attacking Christians. Never would they say Muslims, but I knew right from the start, if you dig a little deeper there, it's Muslims killing Christians. They wanted to make it look tribal. Now, so what I'm arguing is that the media had a stake in not saying Muslims are killing Christians in Nigeria. And the reason why is, why would the media in America have a stake in not saying Muslims are killing Christians?
Well, because they've already said, because they've said Muslims aren't actually bad, you're Islamophobic. It's in the shameful things to say that Muslims are dangerous.
If they said it, they'd have to cancel themselves.
Yeah.
Because to say anything negative about a Muslim is considered Islamophobia, and therefore you'd have to be canceled. And they're not going to cancel themselves since they are the cancelers in chief. They'd have to write the headline, then fire themselves. They're not going to say anything negative about Muslims. This began at 9/11, when already President Bush led this country astray ideologically when he said Islam is a religion of peace that's been hijacked by radicals, and he had imams at the National Cathedral along with other Christian representatives acting as if we all worship the same God when we do not. And so no one had the guts to say the truth. But now something has broken it open. And so now, do you have the Bill Maher one? I send you two of the same one because I didn't know how to get them to you. This is more recent.
Yeah, I'm reading this headline from last month.
Go ahead.
So
and read
something
it
must have very changed, because this is in September. But it's a Christian website. It says 52,000 Christians have been murdered in Nigeria this year, and why is nobody talking about it?
Yes, now that is coming up everywhere. Why isn't anyone talking about it? And that's exactly what Bill Maher is about to say. And by the way, if you don't know who Bill Maher is, he's a famous leftist liberal who made his bones with a show on HBO called Politically Incorrect, and he's still doing it. And it's funny because he was always a good, strong leftist anyway, attacking anyone on the other side.
But he never actually went super woke, it seemed.
He
He always thought it was crazy.
But he was never, I hate to say this, he's very smart, very quick with the mind, but he's a lazy researcher.
Yeah.
He doesn't go deep into what things are.
Well, that's because he's a pot smoker. So.
But that's right, he smokes a lot of pot. But if he went deeper, I think he'd be a champion for truth. And so here's what he said just recently.
They are systematically killing the Christians in Nigeria. And again, I'm not a Christian, but they've killed over 100,000 since 2009. They've burned 18,000 churches. This is so much more. These are their Islamists, Boko Haram. This is so much more of a genocide attempt than what is going on in Gaza. They are literally attempting to wipe out the Christian population of an entire country. Where are the kids protesting this?
Thank you. Because no one will talk about it, so thank you.
Okay. That was good, right?
Yeah.
Question, where did he get his data? That over 100,000 are killed in 18,000 churches in the last since 1990.
ChatGPT? I don't know.
Why is he bringing it up? In other words, some data source is getting to him that didn't used to get to him.
Yeah.
And he says, wow, this is bad. We could have had this conversation in the 90s. No one would talk about it. Now they're talking about, why are people talking about it now? Do you have I have an answer to my own question, but I want to give you a shot in case you had an answer. But if you don't, you don't have to.
Well, I don't know. I'm thinking of so many things. Like there's definitely Christian resurgence going on. Like the pendulum is swinging backwards in a lot of different ways, right? So you can take that metaphor and mean it politically. You can mean it culturally. You can mean it Christian heritage. I think there's a lot of ways in which the pendulum. People are like, we're in crazy land.
Why is that happening?
Because we won. I don't know. We won.
Let me give you time to think.
I think it's because people like Bill Maher, like Elon Musk, like RFK Jr., like Tulsi Gabbard, traditional liberals, like almost in the classical liberal camp, stood up and started publicly saying,
why? Why?
I think the LGBTQ thing got pushed too far.
No one from the Massachusetts Kennedy family ever became a Republican. And now the son of one of the most beloved, Robert F. Kennedy Sr.,
is in a Republican.
He's Republican now.
Administration.
And Tulsi Gabbard, she was the leader of the Republican or the Democrat caucus, and now she is a Republican. Why? And I think the answer, I'm going to give you my answer, and you can, this is my best guess, but I think it's got to be close to true, is this right here, and Elon Musk, and other forces like that. We are seeing what the internet is doing to change culture, just like they saw in the 1400s, 1500s, and 1600s at a much slower rate. The printing press did.
When the book came out, yeah.
What the printing press did. Now, it took longer because it takes longer to disseminate books.
Yeah, you got to write them, print them, read them.
But the internet now has its feet under it because every doggone human in the world has a supercomputer in his or her pocket. A supercomputer by the standards of 1995. To have this much power when I was working in
supercomputer compared to even 2008.
Yeah, well, I remember when I was working in 1990, 91, 92 for Payless, they gave us computers. They were called, many of you won't know what this is, a 286. And then I got a 386, and someone had a 486. These didn't even run Windows. They were on what was called DOS, which means letters and numbers on the screen, and you had to give them commands. And I remember...
They probably cost like $3,000.
Oh, they cost a lot. A guy in the computer store saying no one will ever need as much memory as is on this 486. And I can't tell you, it was like, I don't know, 100 megabytes, 25. It was tiny. It was tiny. It wasn't even 4 megabytes. That's right. I can't remember. It was little.
I have a micro SD chip right now on my desk. It's about the size of my pinky nail, like the fingernail on my pinky, and it's 32 gigabytes.
That's right. I got hundreds of gigabytes on this. To have a computer like that in 2000, forget about it.
Yeah.
You just didn't. So now everyone's got this speed in their pocket, and now you cannot stop the world from talking. And thanks to Elon Musk opening up the number one news-sourced app in the world was Twitter. That's where you go to get news. And now it's X, and now it's wide open.
I'm going to tag on to your internet theory, which 100% agree. I also think the devil and his minions and people confused by him made a tactical error in pushing the transgender stuff too far too fast.
Oh, I'd agree.
I think they could have maybe got away with it if they did it a little slower over a couple decades. But I think there was a bunch of people that were going along with the woke stuff because of social pressure and shame that all of a sudden started seeing little kids getting their body parts chopped off. And they saw grown men in public like waving their ding-dongs around. They're like, wait a minute.
Can we say ding-dongs on this?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
That's too far. You know what because think about Elon Musk. What turned Elon Musk?
Don't look sunshine. He said.
What turned Elon Musk? It was his kid and the transgender.
And he said, I need to kill the woke mind virus.
Yeah, it was. And I think for Tulsi and RFK Jr. and people like that, all of a sudden there was this classical liberal strain that was going along with the social pressure, and all of a sudden we're like, wait a minute, this is a step too far. And then all of a sudden it made them question. As soon as you question one thing, you feel free to start questioning everything else. And I think by God's grace, they pushed the LGBTQ thing too fast.
Well,
and kind of woke a whole bunch of people up to like, wait a minute, we're in freaking crazy land right
if
now.
it doesn't affect me, I'm not saying what's right. This is the American way. If it doesn't affect me, I don't care what you do. And so you could push gay marriage. Well, it doesn't affect me. No, it does affect you. It does affect society, but you were convinced it wouldn't affect you. You weren't going to marry another man, and who cares?
All of a sudden, your 8-year-old
Whatever they
kid
want.
comes home from school and starts saying like absolutely crazy stuff, and you're like, "Whoa, it's in my
Yes.
household now."
Yes, and I know you're exactly right.
Yeah.
I've listened to Megyn Kelly's podcast since she started, and she changed in that short time because it went from I have a loved one who's transgender, and she would use the pronouns and all this crud, to now she's a fire-breathing, never use the pronouns, and this is a mental illness. Why? Because at her kids' school, private school in New York City, in Manhattan, they were indoctrinating them, and she said, this is going too far. And I think you're right, but I think that's happening everywhere. There is a voice that's becoming more consolidated, and I don't know if it's true. I'm going to be investigating it because it's on one of my many things I talk about too much. I notice this doesn't come up in the podcast. You can't see it's all brushed out, but Islam and AI, they kind of go together. There are voices saying Islam is on the wane because of the internet. If you want to have some fun, go on anything you search. I go on X to do it, but you could do it on anything, and hit ex-Muslim. And there's a movement of ex-Muslims in Muslim countries like Egypt. Yeah. Why?
I've heard more rumblings about Iran too, because like
it's this. They can talk, they can think, and they're finding out Islam is stupid. I mean, Islam's just stupid. It's always been stupid. They keep us quiet by fear of cancel culture, or an actual Muslim coming and chopping off your head, like at Charlie Hebdo,
or in those countries putting you in jail.
Or if you're in those countries, they will kill you. They will kill you. So the fear of your own life keeps you from saying anything, but the internet is in your pocket. And the world, you can't keep the internet out unless you're the Chinese. And so the world is getting in there. Islam is being exposed, and people are now starting, just within the last year, to speak more openly online about how Islam is the problem. I was always saying it, wondering if one of these days some Muslim somewhere was going to take a plane to where I am and kill me. But I couldn't not say it. But now I think that's less likely. There's too many of us. And fine, I don't want to die by Islam. But if I do, I hope he has a very sharp sword. One chop. I don't want to, okay. In the news. I have another in my in the news section. Go ahead. You want to say something? I can tell.
No, I'm... And the Charlie Kirk thing ties into this because I think it's only going to accelerate, at least in the U.S. and in some of the Western countries that he was really popular in, people being less afraid and less ashamed to call out things online, like you said. Like, I think it's going to accelerate the movement that we were talking about online of people saying Islam is dumb or LGBTQ stuff is dumb.
Oh, yeah.
Or,
and it'll lead to a division. It's not going to lead to unity.
No.
It'll lead to divisions.
Things are going to fire up.
Worldwide divisions in thought. And yes.
Which they were already. They existed. They
weren't there. But I think...
Once I was largely silent.
Okay, again, the printing press led to the Reformation. What does that mean? It means all of a sudden, all the nations in Europe started to have people reading the Bible and other books and questioning the authority of the Catholic Church or the Anglican Church in England. And they were saying, wait a minute, the Bible says something different. And they were beginning to preach the Bible. And then people were, as we would say in our nomenclature, getting saved. And then the governments of France and just the governments, let's name European nations, European nations, they started to kill the preachers. Christian countries were killing Christian preachers for preaching outside of the official church. But that was the blood of the martyrs, the seed of the church. That only led to more growth. It actually led to a group of people who many went to Amsterdam, the freest place at the time, but some of them went to New Amsterdam, which would be the United States. It wasn't the United States then, it was the New World, and they planted a new country so they could be Christians without the government telling them what to do. So America owes its existence in part to the technology of that type, of literal type, ink and paper, the printing press.
And because I want to connect it to what you just said 30 seconds ago. Not just the printing press, but the printing press calcified the division of thought, which led to conflict, not necessarily, well, in some cases, physical conflict. Like you said, people were getting put to death and being burned at the stake. And then the conflict and stuff is what produced the pressure for people to want to go over here and do their own thing. So I'm just trying to connect to, you're making the connection of the internet and stuff. There's going to be more division.
There will be more division, and it can go in good ways or bad ways. Like the French Revolution was also the result of the printing press. Many people said, wait a minute, since we're free of the church, I don't like Jesus. I'm free completely. And you came up with guys like Robespierre and Rousseau who came up with these philosophies that led to the French Revolution that said we're libertines, which is the idea is everyone should be free to do whatever they want as long as it doesn't hurt. Mm-hmm. You people who think you're libertarians out there, this is the problem. And they started a godless coup.
And it angers God.
And they had a godless coup, and they threw over, and they started, if you were rich and powerful, we're going to chop your head off. They had a period called the Reign of Terror. And anyone who got accused, talk about cancel culture, it was out of control. He was once with a rich guy. Bring him in here. Let's chop off his head.
Robespierre, headed up chopping off a lot of people's heads until finally his own head got put in his own guillotine.
That always happens. And then that led to the rise of a dictator in order to bring order to society. And that man's name was Napoleon. And so disorder will lead to a dictator to clean it up. Because
almost always, if you're not careful.
People need order. And so it can go in all kinds of directions. We have what we call the Enlightenment, the Renaissance. Well, now you have the printing press, but what took 200 to 300 years to happen is taking, for a while it took 10 years, and then it took 5, and then it took 1. Now it's taking a week. There's so much data moving so fast that we don't know. You're living the most amazing times ever in the history of man. I mean, this is it. There will be nothing. If you're 20 years old, Sunshine, how old are you?
20.
How'd I guess? If you live long, you will not believe the things you're going to see. It'll be stuff when I'm in heaven, you'll go, if Pastor Mike was here, I could tell him you were right. I can't believe what I'm seeing. He wouldn't believe it if he were here. It's going to be amazing. And it is amazing already. And one of those things is in the news. And that is the Anglican Church just fell.
What?
And I know, it got no press. The Anglican Church just literally fell. Now, what does that matter? The Anglican Church is English, white folk on the island. The Church of England has run Christianity in England for centuries after centuries.
Yeah, we listened to that great parliamentarian, I can't think of his name right now, from England, where he was talking about that basically Anglicanism cannot be separated from England,
as they are currently.
Yeah.
And so Anglicanism was taken to wherever the British did their empire. And there was a time when they said the British Empire, the sun never set upon it.
Yeah, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, India, you had some in South America.
Yeah, Guyana,
it was all over
the United States, with Canada. So they brought a Protestant form of Christianity in that it wasn't Catholic, but it wasn't like what came to America, because we got the people who protested, the Anglicans. So let's say it was a non-Catholic form of Christianity, but it was closer to the Bible than Catholicism. And it led to the spread of Christianity worldwide. Well, now the communion, the Anglican communion, which has as its head Canterbury.
Mm-hmm. Bishop of Canterbury. It's like the Pope.
Well, they have slowly been leaving the Bible, or quickly, and groups of Anglicans have been saying, especially in Africa and South America and other places, you guys are going unbiblically with the homosexual stuff. It's always the homosexual stuff, and with the women preacher stuff. But now they just elected a openly lesbian, gay, whatever Archbishop of Canterbury, female, and she wants to take things farther. And the Anglicans of the world who are conservative had already united and made a group called GAVCON, which stands for something. Global Anglican something.
Confederacy of Orthodox
Whatever,
people. I don't know.
But they are Bible believing. And so when this lady was elected, they just declared that the Anglican Church in England, they are completely separate from them. And they are saying, we are the Anglican Church now. They just killed the Anglican Church. Now,
So it's like the East-West split of the Catholics.
you want to have some fun, just Google GAFCON Anglican and hit news. And just see the kind of headlines as people, you're not hearing about it in the news, but it is in a lot of news sources. Let me just read some that come up on my Brave. Brave is my browser. It says, what is happening in the Anglican Communion? Today, anyway, let me move on. Then another site says myths and facts about GAFCON announcing a reset of the Anglican Communion. Another one, Christianity Today, which is, that's a half true title for that magazine. It is today, but it's not Christian anymore. Anglican Communion is coming apart. Another one in Christianity Today, 2 days ago, Justin Welby partially to blame for GAFCON schism. They're looking for someone to blame. Julia Roys, another person who has her own voice, says Anglican schism, what's really behind the collapse of Canterbury colonialism. You know, that's a liberal. I like the Gateway Pundit because they're conservative. They just come right out. Church of England splits, losing 40 million members, which is most of them, because most of the churches in England are closing as members of conservative majority drives major division. Christianity Today from yesterday, Nordic Catholic Church offers refuge to conservative Anglicans in Church of England. A TV channel 6 hours ago, British royals pray with Pope in historic step for churches. Forget it, that wasn't it, sorry. GAFCON says its members will leave Anglican Communion and form rival network. This is not just a split. Like often, if you split off a big denomination, you're the little guy. The people who split are the big guy. And they're not saying that they're leaving Anglicanism. They're saying they are Anglicanism.
Yeah.
GAFCON creates global Anglican communion. Boldly announcing, quote, that the future has arrived. GAFCON, the global South-based conservative renewal movement, also known as Global Fellowship of Confessing Anglicans, that's what it means, declared the creation of a global Anglican communion by its communique chairman, Archbishop Laurent Mbanda of Rwanda. There's your new leader. It was always a white Englishman. Now it's some guy named Archbishop Laurent Mbamba.
So this is the interesting part for anybody who cares about church politics.
And you should.
England has no separation of church and state, as that parliamentarian was discussing. You know, they pretend they do because it's the secular modern age. But I'm looking it up. You know, Anglicanism cannot be separated from the crown because that's how it was established. And so even though the Rwandans are going to say we're the real Anglicans now, what I think is a travesty is that the appointment of the Archbishop of Canterbury requires constitutionally in the church, in the Anglican Church, to be approved by the Prime Minister and have the vote of the monarch, King Charles.
King Charles is actually the head of the Anglican Church.
And so King Charles and Keir Starmer both officially approved her appointment.
Which means all three of them could fall into the camp we call in America AOC.
Yeah.
They are all Alexandria Cortez. They are all just with British accents. That is their, not just their politics, their philosophy of life is completely secular and leftist. And they're environmentalist wackos. They're just leftists.
What I'm saying, I don't know.
And they run the church.
And I don't know that it matters to me, or it's just like it's like an interesting who's got the authority to do what. It doesn't matter if the GAFCON, the Orthodox quote unquote Anglican side, has more people. They appoint their own archbishop. I think that the lady, the lesbian lady, is technically officially the still head, because the crown. It's like, how do you separate the monarch of England from the Church of England? Like, I don't know. It's
You
weird.
can call yourself anything you want.
I know, but I mean, she's
Yeah.
still the official Anglican head,
A
because
rose by any other name is still a rose. They're not a rose.
because the crown and the
They're not a rose.
prime minister.
They can call themselves whatever they want. They are the man behind the curtain, not Oz. Weeks after the appointment of, and this is from the Roy's report, this is that Roy's lady who talks a lot about Anglican things. Weeks after the appointment of Right Reverend Sarah Mullally as the leader of the Anglican Communion, conservative Anglican prelates in Africa have rejected the authority of the Archbishop of Canterbury and have proclaimed their own network of conservative churches as the official voice of Anglicanism. The majority of the Anglican Communion still believes that the Bible requires male-only episcopacy. Therefore, her appointment will make it impossible for the Archbishop of Canterbury to serve as a focus of unity within the communion. The statement said, look, this would be like if all the Catholic bishops in the world, with the exception of the Vatican only, said, we quit, he's not our pope.
Yeah.
We have our own pope, and it's an African dude.
Yeah.
Now,
Big deal.
Yeah, you've lost all your pull. You've lost all your power. You're not going to be invited to any of their reindeer games, right? When it's time to get together to decide things, they're not going to call up the Archbishop of Canterbury. You can have your little meeting with all your British people. We're not coming. Now, there was a guy named Phil Jenkins, who was actually a professor at Penn State. I don't know if he still is, but for years, who wrote a book many years ago. It's got to be 30 years ago. And I can't remember the name of it, but the point of his book was, statistically, Christianity, the power of Christianity has moved to the global south, and we just don't know it yet. And he highlighted the trends of the movement of Christianity in China, in South Korea, and in Southern Africa, and in South America. He said most of Christianity is in those places. It's in the global south. It is no longer in the West. There's fewer percentage of Christians and fewer numbers of Christians in Europe than anywhere, and definitely in America it's fading. So now we're seeing it play out. So this is historic times. It's funny because nobody's making a big deal of it, but because we sit around talking about what's the latest thing Trump did to get your attention, which he just plays with that and he gets all the attention. But really, there's a lot of things happening, and that's huge. That is not small. Let's see, another story I wanted to share with you that I kind of found interesting. Pastor set to self-deport after leading growth movement at Texas church. So the reason I find this is on the Christian Post, I find this interesting because Christians don't know what to do, apparently, as a whole, with illegal immigration. And this is a story I read. It's about a guy named Albert Oliveira. He is on a R1 visa, which is a temporary permit for religious workers, and it's about to expire. He's in Fort Worth. It says he leads a growth movement. It's not a mega church or nothing. The church was about to close, and he took it over, and it doesn't say how big they got, but they're still open. So I'm guessing it was 20 people. Now it's probably 100, 200 people. I don't even know. And he's leaving because he wants to follow the laws, which I appreciate. He says, if the law as it currently stands does not offer justice to those that have done what it requires, it's for the conscience of those in power to do what is right. My family and I have decided that while God is in control and his will is perfect and will continue to be fulfilled through our lives, we trust that he will use our lives to touch the hearts of those in power and make a difference in this matter. Now, he's from Brazil, so what he's saying is, what's morally right is that they don't kick me out. But I'm going to obey the government and trust God to move them to change their minds. In another place,
We
quote,
came legally and we're leaving legally. We love this country and the people God allowed us to serve, but the system left us without a path forward.
Yes, so that's his position. And I understand that. I have a daughter who, she has other parents. I want to show them respect, but I'm her American dad from Korea, and we were just constantly praying she would get the visa to work here. And then we're praying she would get her green card, and she finally got her green card, so she has the freedom to enter into trying to be a citizen if she likes, but she can stay and work. And we were dependent on the system. If she didn't get it, we'd be upset, but she'd had to go home. God has been so generous, this guy says, in letting me be part of seeing baptisms happen every month. People coming to Christ. Our church now is a ministry partnership in Honduras, Brazil, and New York. He said, many people have come to Christ, gotten baptized, and flourished in their relationship with Christ because of the ministry that God has established through this church. Oliveira said, even with the challenges of growing a church in a town of 500 people, where at one point it was going to close, he says, now our church is having to study the possibility of expanding the sanctuary due to growth. The ministry here has definitely been a joyful adventure. Next month, the adventure will come to an end, at least for now, when he and his family will self-deport. For the simple reason we have arrived here within the law, we stayed within the law, we'll leave within the law. In September, the Trump administration reported at least 2 million illegal aliens were either removed or self-deported. He has an American-born son who is a U.S. citizen, and I don't know what he's doing. So he's going to go home and pray that he can come back. What are your thoughts on this? I have my own. What are your thoughts on the whole story, the whole big picture here?
I don't really have many. I mean, I think that's to be commended. I think he's representing Romans 13 well, submitting to his government's authority, which I think increases his witness. I don't know. I wish him best of luck back in Brazil, and maybe he can plant a church in Catholic Brazil and save people there. I mean,
actually, Brazil is one of the most Protestant Christian nations in the world now.
I thought it was Catholic.
It was. That's what I'm getting at. This Phil Jenkins would tell you that the Pentecostals went to Brazil and took it over very quickly in the 80s, in the 90s, and so they're very Christian. So he can find a job. They did just elect a socialist, I think, but. Here, I want to give two thoughts. One, I think the fear of sounding like you're not kind to strangers in the land keeps Christians from having some common sense on immigration.
Yeah, they misapply all those. In my opinion,
it's the Tim Keller way of thinking.
They misapply all that Old Testament Israel guidance. Is my thought.
Well, to explain yourself.
So. And I'm will potentially step in water that I don't know as well as I should. So
That's all right.
You can clean it up.
Just give your
In the Old Testament, all the passages on, be good to the sojourner is actually like visitors coming through your land. It's like temporary in nature, right? Like those sojourners, Israel is given specific guidance that like if people were to come be part of Israel, the nation, they had to essentially become Jewish, at least in practice. They had to become circumcised, listen to all the Deuteronomic laws. You didn't get to just come live with Israel and become part of Israel and not actually do all the Israeli things. So the idea of being good to a sojourner in your land is like implied that they're coming temporarily, passing through.
Or they could even be converting.
Yeah, or in the middle of converting.
Well, and you should be kind to a visitor in your land. And the reason why the Bible says, because you were sojourners in the land once too.
But it certainly wasn't allow the Amalekite to come live with you and keep being an Amalekite and build an idol in your town and worship to it and then not agree with any of your moral laws and break them. Like, it's none of that.
You're hitting it just right. In fact, they were told to kill a lot.
They were told to kill them. It's like it's the most obvious misapplication
kill them.
Of Scripture.
It is, and the idea of being kind. If an illegal alien came to my house, I would give him food. I would let him stay. I would preach the gospel to him, and I'd call ICE. I do all those things.
Yeah.
Because a nation that doesn't keep its own laws is an evil nation. And having borders is not evil. So I'd say I disagree with this guy that when he says, if the law as it currently stands does not offer justice.
Yeah, that word hit me.
To those who has done, they're not
hated
offering
that
him
word.
an injustice. He came on an R1 visa. He knew the rules. He knew how long he could stay. The rules are over. It's time to go home now. I
Yeah.
don't know what injustice the government has done this man, but I would say to him, sir, quit your crybaby whining. Go to Brazil and plant a church. If the United States lets you back in, come on back.
That's the thing. That is the one quote, and that quote bothered me because he's actually doing his position in a disservice. So in one hand, he's trying to say, "Look at how good I'm being. I'm being a good Christian,
Obeying
and
the laws.
obeying Romans 13, and obeying my government." But at the same time, he's like whining about it. It's like your kid obeying. It's like your kid obeying, but also moaning about it the whole time and telling you how mean you are. That's not your kid obeying.
Exactly.
Like, if you forget the honor part, like we do honor and obey in our house. Those are like the two rules, honor and obey. If you obey while verbally dishonoring, you're not in the I'm doing good camp. Like you need both halves.
So how old is your daughter again?
3.
And she understands the abstract concept of honor?
Yeah, well, respect. Yeah, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Every time we drop her off at preschool,
I should have known your kid would.
What are the 2 words?
probably writing-
I said, "What are your 2 words?" And
Probably
she always
writing
goes,
an essay on it
"Honor
right
and
now,
obey."
Sunshine. She's
Oh,
like,
I've heard her say
See,
that.
Sunshine's heard her say honor and obey. She doesn't always
It's
do
so
it. She's at the stage where she's not doing it real great. But
yeah. So anyway, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing unchristian about saying illegals go home. There's nothing unchristian about saying to ICE, come arrest the illegals who won't go home. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I'd say it's Christian and biblical to support ICE. It is unchristian to impede their work. I mean, this isn't hard. It's just not hard. It's against the law for you to be here. Go home.
now, where I have a
This is what you're supposed to do.
I do have a little bit of sympathy.
I have a lot of sympathy.
Well, in reading this story that I looked up on him, one of the things he's upset about, which I do have sympathy for, is that during the Biden administration, where they let so many people flood into the country, the Biden administration, it said, put all those people in the same queue as the R1 visa
Yes.
for their court dates. And so he said he would have had his court date already had they not let so many people
Well, then that
flood
is
in.
an injustice.
And so that is annoying.
that is an injustice. If that's what he meant, I take everything back, Alberto. That was an injustice done by the Biden administration. And maybe you should say that publicly.
Because his
Have the
court
guts
date
on the
got
way
pushed
out.
back, and there's all these other illegals
Hey,
that
look,
are in line for court
If you're
dates.
smart, and that's the situation, and you're on the news, you're getting news stories, you should say the Biden administration was unjust. I'm appealing to Donald Trump to speed this up.
Yeah,
Because if
and that
Trump
could
hears
work.
that, you might actually
could
get
work.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with him. If that's what he meant, this story that I read didn't say all that. So thank you for that color on that. So what you're saying is other people got in line in front of him simply by rushing across the border
court
illegally.
date, the courts are totally overwhelmed.
So he
and
couldn't
so
get
his
his
court
date.
date is way past his visa expiration date.
Okay.
And
So
he
I
was
must have
complaining
missed
about
that.
Biden administration.
Okay, well that is an injustice, but in a sense it is, in a sense it isn't. You know,
Because no one has a right to come here.
no one has. Yeah, you don't have a right to a court date before someone else if your government says that. But nevertheless, I love immigrants. My own personal ethic on immigration has nothing to do with the Bible. Okay, so I'm not saying this is the Christian way. I think we should bring in all the Indians we can who are not Muslims. We shouldn't let any Muslims in, with rare exceptions, because they bring Islam with them when they get to critical mass, and then they become violent, as you mentioned. Or did you mention that? Maybe you didn't. Maybe I was.
I didn't, but they do.
Well, they do. What they do is they come in, and when they're really nice till they're critical mass, then they vote their people in, and then they do Sharia. Then they have like Minneapolis, where you have to hear the call to prayer, and then like they've done in nations in the Middle East once, or even in Nigeria, they became violent once they became big in numbers. So I don't want any Muslims coming. I'd let all the Indians in because they make great Americans. I'd let all the South Koreans in who want to come. I'd let North Koreans in as refugees. If you can get out of there, come here. I'd let Chinese if they're not Communist Party members, which
That
would
one's
have to be
tough for me.
refugees.
It's really hard, and
They'd have to be refugees.
so hard to suss that out. Man, I can't. not
I'd let
use
the
word
Chinese
suss.
if they're not party members, which is not the ones who are coming, by the way.
Chinese are good at hiding.
Okay, well,
They're
maybe I'd be
spies.
careful. I'd be careful. I'd let all the Canadians who are running from socialism in. I'd let all the English and the Irish who are running from socialism in. I'd let, that, because they're going to be hardworking. They're going to make a living. They're going to love America.
They need to assimilate. They need
And
to,
I'd say nobody gets to be on the dole when they show up. Nobody gets to be on the dole.
yeah.
And if you take any money from the
If
government,
anything, there should be a tax, like a.
if you get any money from the government, I think you should have to pay it back. If you have any money, any government money helps you in the first 2 years you're here, you should have to pay it back, plus a little interest. And because we want hard-working people.
It could be like an opportunity fee.
Yeah, and true refugees who are escaping a thought-based system that is anti-American. So in other words, if you're North Korean, they're very anti-American. They hate freedom and they hate God. Well, you want to get away from that? Come on over here. As long as you want to get away from that so you can be free, and come on over. They won't bring Islam with them because they don't have any. In any case, that's what I'd do. And then fill the place up. I love immigration. And let's Christianize them all. Let's preach the gospel to all of them. That's what I say. But in any case, hey, go ahead.
Well, and just since the church is listening, careful with that Old Testament sojourner stuff. Ancient Israel, like Old Testament Israel, is basically like assimilate and become a Jew, or you're only here temporarily, or die.
Or at our leisure.
It was like assimilate.
Anytime you take the Old Testament, people say, it says you should stone people in the Old Testament. That's only within the borders of the nation of Israel. I heard a Muslim guy say, what's the difference between you? I got all these texts in the Bible that say to kill the Hittite, kill this guy because he's an infidel, an unbeliever. Okay, that's in the limited area of Israel. And unlike Islam, it doesn't go outside of the borders of Israel. Whereas Islam is trying to take over the whole world. And unlike Islam, if there is no king, they don't follow those rules. And they haven't had a king on the throne there since 590 BC. So they're not even to follow the Old Testament law unless they have a king or their priests run it, like in the period of Judges. They're not even supposed to follow it. So it doesn't even matter. It's not the same. You can't take those verses over and drop them in
A
here.
sojourner is not an immigrant.
No, sojourner is passing through.
Yeah.
And an immigrant isn't an illegal immigrant. If you're here illegally, no human is illegal. Okay, well, what he's doing is illegal, so kick him out to make him legal. Anyway, okay, I want to completely shift gears.
Good.
Completely. Ready to shift?
Yes.
Okay, I have a long video, but it grabbed my attention and it gave me the opportunity. I thought, man, if I have this video, I can talk about something I really want to talk about that is important. I don't know how far we can get.
Is this the attractive thing?
Yes.
What did you call it again?
The attractional church guy. It's, where is that? I sent a video to you, Miss Sunshine. Very long one. And it starts, this guy, I think you got to get to about 2 minutes and 52 seconds to really start it, because he sits around talking about how great his own show is and please click and all this crap. So if you see the video, could you go ahead and let me know when you're starting it? So it was the title. You know, YouTube has algorithms, and they threw this one up in my title. And I'm not here to tear this guy apart.
We'll see about that.
but I'm going to tear them apart.
Except that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Well, what happened was I didn't plan to tear them apart, but as I was listening to them, I wanted to answer, and then before you know it, I was just taking notes in the comment section. And when I took notes in the comment section, I thought, hey, this is pretty interesting. I think I want to talk about this. So I actually have to open it on my own computer. Let me turn the sound down so I can see my own comments. All right. There he is. Is that? I need to see it in YouTube. There it is. Have you got this guy ready, Sunshine?
No, keep talking. Some technical.
I actually got a
difficulties.
thumbs up from somebody.
What is attractional church?
Well, that is the right question. That is the right
Is it
question.
like attractive people? We should be good looking.
Look at the comment I put on this guy. I actually got one thumbs up already.
Because you were taking notes and accidentally hit submit?
No, I took notes, and then as I was taking notes, no, I wanted to answer back. But then he kept talking as I'm answering, and the next thing you know, I'm answering that. Next thing you know, I'm stopping the video, and I'm answering that. And next thing you know, I'm like, oh, forget it. I'm just going to completely answer this guy. And I had the idea, and I'm going to take it into the podcast. So this is my answer to him.
Mike wrote like a 3-paragraph
There's
comment.
no way we get through this. But we're going to take a few minutes. And actually, I don't even know if we should start this now.
Yeah, we're good.
We got
Well,
like half an hour.
it's taken.
You haven't got it downloaded?
It's taken a while.
Okay, you download it. We'll
Yes.
do it next podcast.
Okay.
Let's finish any answers to Ask the Pastor, or we can look at the text, whatever you want to do.
We have a couple Ask the Pastors. I did not do the homework on this one. I don't know how familiar with Malachi 3 you are.
Oh, I'm a big fan of Malachi 3.
Okay, good. I was in a conversation recently. This is the question, verbatim. This person desires to remain anonymous.
Aha.
I was in a conversation recently about tithing, and I had said you should not tithe with the intent or thought process that if you do, God will bless you with more. Rather, that our heart posture should be tithing with thankfulness. Someone quoted Malachi 3, 8 through 12 to me, saying we should test God in this area. Can you explain whether or not this is the right way of thinking when tithing or giving offerings to the church?
You know what's funny is when I saw this question and I actually took notes on it, and I forgot all about it because that's weeks old.
That's weeks old, yeah.
So read the question, just the question again.
When you're tithing and giving offerings to the church,
Yes.
should you do it more from a heart posture of thankfulness, or is it okay to have the intent or motivation that if you offer back to God, he will bless you with more?
Okay, no, it's not okay to do the second. And you say, wait a minute, cast your bread upon the waters, he'll cast them back to you. Well, maybe, let me take it back. Maybe if in a general philosophy of life you know that God prospers the ones who are generous, then it's fine to do it for that. But if you're taking, okay, so I'm going to clean up my answer. It's fine if your motive is to be blessed, so you give to God as a part of your entire life. He will take care of you. But if what you're saying is that the Malachi verse is strengthening the idea that if you give a certain sum, God will give you a certain sum back, you are misreading the Malachi text. I like the question, not upset with it at all. Let's go through it. First, you got to look at Malachi chapter 3, 8 to 12. If you're home listening, it would probably help you to stop and open your Bible to Malachi 3. You can even pause 8 to 12. I'm using the NAS. If you use the ESV or the New King James, it'll sound pretty much the same. If you use the NIV, try to follow along. Here we go. Malachi 3, 8 to 12. Will a man rob God? Verse 8. But you are robbing me. You say, how have we robbed you? And he answers, in tithes and offerings. Now, to start out, for the Jew, there are tithes and offerings required in the law. And they add up to a lot more than 10%. A tithe is 10%. The fact that it says tithes might imply, it might not imply, but we know from the law there's more than one tithe. So it's actually more than 10. And offerings on top of that. He says, you are cursed with a curse, for you are robbing me, the whole nation, of you. Bring the whole tithe into the storehouse, so that there may be food in my house. Now, if you do not tithe, who doesn't eat? The thousands of priests don't eat.
The Levites.
Now, they can go get other jobs, and often they did, and some of them are rich, but most of them are regular people. And if there's no food in the house, they don't eat. So you're starving your priests. Actually, this is a great testimony, or a great text for paying me more. But I'm just kidding. Because I'm not an Old Testament priest, and Harvest takes good care of me. I'm not worried. But he says, and it doesn't go up if you tithe more, although at an extreme it does. If at an extreme you stop tithing, they will stop paying me. Bring the whole tithe into the storehouse, so there may be food in my house. And then he says, test me now in this, says the Lord of hosts, if I will not open for you the windows of heaven and pour out for you blessing until it overflows. Then I will rebuke the devourer for you, so that it will not destroy the fruits of the ground, nor will your vine in the field cast its grapes. Now, most people want to stop in verse 10. Test me, if I will not open the windows of heaven and pour out a blessing. And they get this vision of, if I will test the Lord by giving to him, he's going to open the windows of heaven and drop money on me till it overflows. But you have to read verse 11. Then I will rebuke the devourer for you. What is he talking about?
He's talking about rain and locusts.
Yes.
And God is the one who makes your crops actually grow when you plant seeds in the ground. You're not in control of any of the things that give you food.
That's right. And I will rebuke the devourer so that it will not destroy the fruits of the ground, nor will your vine in the field cast its grapes.
Meaning drop its grapes early.
That's right. And all the nations will call you blessed, for you shall be a delightful land. Here's what's happening.
It's making your land fruitful.
So that's right. So here's what's happening in context. Malachi is near the end of the time of Israel, not the beginning. This isn't way back under Moses or Joshua. This is way at the end. And what's happening is God is not blessing their land. So they have less money.
It's more deserty.
And so then God says, you're not tithing. So I would say, when you have less money, do you stop tithing? You're going to be tempted to.
Right, that's what Israel did.
And he's talking about bigger than the money. Why is their land cursed in the first place?
Because they quit being obedient.
Honor and obedience, I think, is the problem. And I would go.
And we find in Hebrews that it's because they had unbelief.
That's right.
Therefore, we see that they were disobedient and fell in the wilderness because of unbelief.
That's
and
right.
This is way
in
after
fact,
the
they're
wilderness,
about to be taken off the land completely because they serve other gods. God's covenant with Israel and the land is not the same as the covenant of grace, which is where you're saved no matter what you've done. He said, if you serve other gods, I will take you off the land. Period.
Wow.
So they are serving other gods, and before taking them off the land, he's cursing their land. He's taking the rain away. And he's saying, do you want it to rain again? Well, let's get your hearts right, you greedy little buggers. Okay, now let's look at Leviticus, now with that as a background. And we'll see what he's saying to them. Leviticus 26, verse 1 to 13. Now, Leviticus goes way back before they're on the land. Okay? They're about to go to the land under Joshua, and this is what God told them the rules would be. Leviticus 26, if you're in your Bible at home, verse 1. Leviticus 26. Way back at the beginning of the Bible. He says, you shall not make for yourselves idols. You want to preach?
No,
you're ready to go.
It's just like, yeah.
If you do not, you can preach, you can jump in. You shall not make for yourselves idols. You shall not set up for yourselves an image or a sacred pillar, nor shall you place a figured stone in your land or bow down to it, for I am the Lord your God. You shall keep my Sabbaths and reverence my sanctuary. I am the Lord. Here's the covenant, if you walk in my statutes and if you keep my commandments so as to carry them out, then I shall give you rain in their seasons so that the land will yield its produce and the trees of the field will bear their fruit. God is cutting a deal with Israel, ethnic Israel. If you do this, I will do that. If you don't have other gods before me, I'm going to make sure you have lots of farm stuff.
Well, and this idea of prospering, like in this time in history and all the way up until very, very, very recently, the idea of prosperity was mostly food. You didn't have famine. You weren't starving to death.
Yeah, it was not about you give me money, I give you money.
Yeah, it's like
if
God's giving you your daily bread.
If you honor me, I'll let you eat.
Yes,
is what he's saying. So in verse 5, he says, "Indeed, watch this. Your threshing will last for you until grape gathering, and grape gathering will last until sowing time." So he's saying you're going to be gathering in stuff, and you'll have plenty of food until the grapes get here. When the grapes get here, you'll be gathering grapes until it's time to plant again. Thus you will eat your food to the full and live securely in your land. I shall also grant peace in the land, so that you may lie down with no one making you tremble. I shall also eliminate harmful beasts from the land, and no sword shall pass through your land. But you will chase your enemies, and they will fall down before you by the sword. Those are the bad immigrants. 5 of you will chase 100. 100 of you will chase 10,000, and your enemies will fall before your sword. When will this happen? Again, it's all conditional on them serving God. Keeping his Sabbath is a sign of saying, worship me. You're going to take a day to worship me, and you're not going to worship other gods. Verse 9, so I will turn towards you and make you fruitful and multiply you, so more people, which was a good thing. And I'll confirm my covenant with you. This is the covenant. This is the deal. I will confirm it by giving you stuff. You will eat the old supply and clear out the old because of the new. Guys, we need to do some serious eating because God's blessing us again. And our storehouse is filled up with food. So get in there and eat. That's what that's saying. You will eat the old and clear out the old because of the new. Moreover, I will make my dwelling among you. My soul will not reject you. I will also walk among you and be your God, and you shall be my people. And that's the true treasure. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt.
So we go back to Malachi.
He's saying, Malachi.
I'm a man of my word.
That's right. Or God of my word.
Yeah, yeah.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
That's right.
It's a
well, he would become a man of
colloquialism,
yes.
Right? He's like, test my covenant. Like, you want the rains to fall and your land to prosper. You know what you need to do because I laid it out for you.
Yeah, so verse 9, you are cursed with a curse for your robbing me. The whole nation is robbing me. Why? Bring your tithe in the storehouse. Part of that tithe is food, so there will be food in my house. To honor him, money is worship. The reason you bring in is to worship your God so that the blessings he's going to pour out from you, that he promises Israel as a nation, is more human beings and food. Now, as Americans, you probably are using birth control to stop him from giving you children, and have so much food, you're on Ozempic.
And I
don't think this has anything to do with American Christianity in that sense. Well, the principle, though, is if you honor God, he'll honor you.
And you touched on it. In Leviticus 3, it says statutes and commandments, and there were actually statutes. Statutes are a synonym for law. There were actually laws about tithes and offerings for the priesthood. And so they're tied, the two passages tied together.
Now, I'm not done yet.
Okay,
I'm going to go back to Malachi.
See, this listener, I don't even know if they thought it was going to be this.
This is part 2. Let's look at verse 10.
Okay.
It says, bring the whole tithe into the storehouse, so that there may be food in my house, and test me now in this, says the Lord of hosts. If I will not open for you the windows of heaven and pour out for you a blessing until it overflows. Now, I'm looking at a cut and paste, but my guess is if you're looking in your Bible, there's a cross-reference or a footnote to a passage in Deuteronomy 28:11-14. And I think you're going to see the same kind of language in Deuteronomy, chapter 28 of Deuteronomy. That's the 5th book of the Bible, so it's way at the beginning, verse 11-14. And the Lord will make you abound in prosperity, in the offspring of your body, again, abounding in humans, and in the offspring of your beast, abounding in animals, and the produce of your ground, which is crops. So you're going to have people, and you're going to have animals, and you're going to have food in the land which the Lord swore your father to give you. The Lord will open up for you, here it comes, his good storehouse, the heavens, and give rain to your land in its season. Now, with that in mind, when he says here, I will open for you the windows of heaven and pour out a blessing, he most likely means
Rain.
rain.
And I got that in the first reading.
You
of it.
did, and you said it, and you were correct.
Because I think it's obvious when you look at the subsequent
Yes.
verse.
So if you want more rain on your tomatoes in Pennsylvania, perhaps you could tithe. And I think I'm being silly now, but it's definitely not saying if you give more, you get more. The Lord will open for you his good storehouse, the heavens, to give rain to your lands in its season, and bless all the work of your hand, and you shall lend to many nations, but you shall not borrow. Why are they wealthy? Because they have lots of food and lots of cattle. The Lord will make you the head and not the tail, and you only will be above, and you will not be underneath. And if you listen to the commandments of the Lord your God, which I charge you today, to observe them carefully, and do not turn aside from the words which I commanded you to the right or to the left, to go after other gods and serve them. Now, again, though, this is to the nation of Israel. It's not even to you as a Christian today. Now, are you saying, well, then, I can't say that God is saying I will make you the head and not the tail? Well, you can, because all the promises of God are yes in Christ. But it's going to look differently. This is about blessing a nation with food, cattle, safety. No one kills you. You have lots of kids. That's what a wealthy nation looks like. It has safety and people.
And you're also...
And they don't need to borrow. And as a nation, it's not talking about, sorry, I know you have something to say. It's not talking about individuals not needing to borrow. It's talking about as a nation, you don't have to borrow money. You have all you need. This is the formula to make Israel great again. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, you're also kind of losing the whole point of the big, like we all went through he has a plan, right? This idea of the progress of redemption class. What is the Old Testament all about? Like, what is the whole story of the nation of Israel all about? Is that, like, you can't keep the law. Like, if you're in the system of, if I listen to the law, that's how I get blessings and that's how I get good things, you're in bad news world. Because the whole point of the story is that even if God came down and talked to your face and saved you from slavery and did miracles in front of you, and you knew he was there and he lived amongst you, and there was no question that he was the God of the universe and all powerful, he proved it to you time and time again.
You still wouldn't trust him.
You still wouldn't trust him and listen to him, and therefore you wouldn't get the blessings.
That's right.
Like the whole idea is if you're thinking in the tit for tat, if I give offerings, God will give me, even if it is rain, if you want rain on your garden, and so you go, that's not the system you want. The whole point of the Old Testament is to say that's not what we want. Like, because you don't want to live in the obey my statutes and my commandments world to get blessings. That's not.
So when you look at Israel, to jump off what Will just said there, Israel is mostly unsaved people back then.
Yeah.
God cut a deal with people he knew weren't saved. Some were. And so it would be like if everyone in the church was unsaved except, say, 10% of us. The church would be a mess, right? So the nation was always a mess, and they weren't going to listen. But they were still God's chosen people for his chosen purpose. So the Malachi is at the end. This Deuteronomy is at the beginning. Deuteronomy was written right before the people went into the land. If you do this, this will happen. Now you have to fast forward... how many years? Maybe I
don't know where you're
900 years.
I was going to say 1,000, but
900 years-ish. Maybe 1,000, but 900 years-ish to get to Malachi. And Malachi is saying, okay, it's over now. You've completely blown it. You have not listened all this time in general. You've had good periods, but they didn't last. And so God isn't even giving you food or children right now. Test me. Try me. Quit being greedy buggers. Your money is indicating you're not even willing to tithe on your food because you're hungry. Tithe on your food. I told you to. bring some food into the storehouse, feed the priests. And they're like, well, I don't have that much food. What did I say do? I'm not going to do it. Well, then you're robbing me. My priests who are supposed to feed you the word of God are hungry. You won't feed them. Feed them. Test me. I will open up the sky and rain on you. So whoever asked this, and by whoever asked it, the flavor of the asking was sweet. It was good. It was humble. So whoever's telling you that this means if you give some money, you'll get a lot more back is not reading the scripture correctly.
Yeah. They've even lost the whole big picture story.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. And now we have Christ who comes. Then you have, was it in a foreshadowing of Christ in Isaiah? He says, oh, you who have no money, come buy and eat. He says, he who thirsts, come to the water. Jesus calls the one who has nothing and says, I'll just give it to you. And that's a covenant of grace. And that's the deal he cuts with us now. If you come to me on no condition except that you trust me, no other condition, you don't even have to give me money, I'll bless you. And that's what's missed by these prosperity church bozos, that he's been blessing you when you weren't tithing. And he will take care of you if you don't obey. When you are faithless, he is faithful. So all the more be faithful to him and enjoy him.
Yeah, and I would say,
him. And don't worry about your money so much.
Thankfully, we're not part of, like, God's making an example with Israel of that system doesn't work.
That's
like
right.
When people say, well, if God would just show up and talk to me, I'd really, then I'd be a Christian. It's like,
No, you wouldn't.
No, you wouldn't. Look at Israel.
Look at Jesus. He actually showed up and talked to people, and he did a lot of miracles. And they said, "Nah, we don't believe in you. Let's kill him." But but even then, there were faithful people. God always had a righteous remnant, like Malachi. And imagine how frustrated he was. Every time he opened up his internet, he saw, oh, look, the stories, my people are acting the fool again, worshiping other gods. And he'd shut his computer and he'd say, oh, my society stinks. You know what that feels like. He didn't have a computer, but you get my point. All right, listen, next week we're going to do that thing, or next time, depending on when this comes out. There might be a podcast between this one and that because we're recording 2 today. But next time you and I gather, we're going to hit, I think, a very important subject.
Attractive church people.
Attractional church model.
Attractional church model.
How should you do church is the issue. And we're going to talk about how you should do church. It's going to be awesome because I love it. And I'm just going to go off on the subject. All right. Thank you. And have a pleasant day. How's that? That's a good sign off. What do you want to say?
Nothing. Keep up the Ask the Pastors. We got a few more actually in the queue, which are good, and we need more of them. We like them.
All right. Thank you. Bye.